Monaco descends into absolute chaos as Sheila stages a lethal collapse, forcing Finn to abandon Steffi and file for a shocking divorce. Meanwhile, Elektra is drowning in agonizing regret over Will's dark downward spiral. Hello, I'm Emma Bennett from the B&B Spoilers YouTube channel. The pristine, sun-drenched shores of Monaco were supposed to be a glamorous, high-stakes escape, a desperate attempt to salvage a marriage teetering on the absolute brink of total collapse. Instead, the breathtaking Mediterranean coastline has just transformed into the ultimate, tragic graveyard for Steffi Forrester and John Finn Finnegan. The tension on the sand is suffocating, thick enough to cut with a knife, as the ultimate nightmare materializes right in front of them. Sheila, the relentless, nine-toed menace who simply refuses to stay dead or defeated, has stalked her prey across the globe. She stands on the Monaco beach, her eyes locked onto Finn with a predatory, calculating intensity. Steffi is practically vibrating with unadulterated rage, her blood boiling as she demands that this psychopath be removed from their presence immediately. But Sheila is a master of manipulation, a brilliant, twisted tactician who knows exactly how to play her final, devastating card. She knows she cannot win with words, so she decides to win with a catastrophic physical display. Right in the middle of the crowded Monaco beach, amidst the sea of wealthy tourists and luxurious cabanas, Sheila orchestrates a masterpiece of theatrical deception. She does not simply fall, she executes a terrifying, heart-stopping collapse. Her eyes roll back into her skull, fluttering wildly as she lets out a sharp, agonizing gasp that cuts violently through the sound of the crashing waves. Her hands fly to her chest, clawing desperately at her shirt as if her heart is actively exploding beneath her ribs. With a sickening, bone-chilling thud, she collapses onto the burning white sand. Her body goes completely limp, a lifeless, tragic doll sprawled helplessly at the feet of her horrified son and her furious, disbelieving daughter-in-law. The surrounding crowd gasps in collective horror, stepping back as the chaotic scene unfolds under the blazing European sun. Finn's reaction is instantaneous, visceral, and completely terrifying to witness. The brilliant doctor, the loyal husband, completely vanishes, instantly replaced by a panicked, desperate little boy terrified of losing his mother. He drops to his knees in the scorching sand, his hands frantically grabbing at Sheila's face, checking her pulse, screaming for someone to call for emergency medical help. His medical instincts completely override his marital loyalty. Steffi watches this pathetic, terrifying display with her jaw clenched, her eyes narrowing in sheer, unadulterated disgust. She knows exactly what this is. She knows the monster bleeding out on the sand is faking every single second of this dramatic medical emergency. Steffi lunges forward, her manicured fingers wrapping around Finn's bicep with an iron, unforgiving grip. She yanks him, her voice cracking with sheer, explosive outrage. She commands him to stop, screaming that this is nothing but a sick, twisted trick, another manipulative game designed to destroy their family. She demands that Finn get up, turn his back on the woman who shot them both, and walk away right this very second to deal with their actual family issues. Her demands echo aggressively across the beach, drawing the shocked stares of countless onlookers. But Finn does not yield. He does not cower. He does not listen to the woman he swore to love and protect for the rest of his life. Instead, he commits the ultimate, unforgivable marital treason. With a sudden, violent jerk, Finn rips his arm out of his wife's desperate grasp. The physical rejection hits Steffi like a brutal, breathless blow to the stomach. Finn shoots to his feet, his eyes burning with a feral, unrecognizable rage that Steffi has never seen before. He steps aggressively into Steffi's personal space, his chest heaving, his face twisted in absolute, undeniable disgust. His voice booms over the sound of the ocean, a furious, shattering roar that completely decimates whatever fragile, hanging thread of a bond they had left. He screams right into Steffi's face, his words dripping with venom and delusion. Finn bellows that his mother is actively dying right in front of them, bleeding out her last breaths on the sand, and accuses Steffi of being a heartless, selfish monster. He screams that she is so entirely consumed by her own petty, vindictive vendettas that she would gleefully watch a woman die without lifting a single finger. The words strike Steffi like a barrage of bullets. The man who has worshipped the ground she walks on, the man who literally took a bullet for her in a filthy alleyway, is now screaming in her face, publicly humiliating her in the middle of Monaco to defend the very psychopath who nearly murdered them both. The absolute betrayal is paralyzing, leaving Steffi frozen in a state of apocalyptic shock. Without waiting for a response, without offering a single backward glance, Finn bends down and scoops Sheila's limp body into his strong arms. He lifts her effortlessly, his face etched with sheer, blind panic. Sheila's head lolls back perfectly, her performance absolutely flawless as Finn turns his back on his wife. He marches away, pushing aggressively through the gathering crowd, entirely consumed by his desperate need to save the woman who has brought nothing but death and destruction to their door. Steffi is left standing completely alone on the burning sand, humiliated, furious, and shattered. The Mediterranean sun beats down on her as she watches her husband carry his psychotic mother away, realizing in that exact, horrifying moment that her marriage has just been violently, permanently assassinated. But the nightmare in Monaco is only just beginning. Finn, completely blinded by Sheila's masterful manipulation, does not take her to a crowded, public hospital where doctors could easily expose her fraudulent medical crisis. Instead, operating under a cloud of deep paranoia and delusion, Finn decides to rent a highly private, secluded, luxurious apartment hidden away in the winding streets of Monaco. He isolates them completely, setting up a makeshift medical sanctuary to personally care for his supposedly dying mother. He hovers over her bed, checking her vitals, wiping her brow, entirely consumed by his role as her ultimate savior. Sheila plays the weak, fading victim to absolute perfection, whispering weak, grateful words that only further brainwash Finn into believing she is a changed, desperate woman who needs his love to survive. As the long, agonizing night passes, Finn stews in a toxic cocktail of fear, anger, and absolute resentment toward his wife. By the time the golden Monaco sunrise breaches the horizon, painting the sky in beautiful, tragic hues, Finn makes the ultimate, fatal decision. He picks up his phone and makes a cold, calculated call to a high-powered legal representative. He is completely done. He has convinced himself that Steffi is the true villain of their story, a cold, unfeeling dictator who lacks the basic human empathy required to be his partner. He sets the wheels in motion for the most shocking, devastating legal strike in Forrester history. Hours later, Steffi is pacing the floors of her luxurious Monaco hotel suite, her eyes red from a sleepless night of furious tears and agonizing heartbreak. She is waiting for Finn to walk through the door, waiting for him to apologize, waiting for him to realize he has been played. But the knock on the door does not bring her husband. Instead, she opens the door to find a cold, professional Monaco lawyer standing in the hallway. The representative hands her a thick, heavy manila envelope, offering no explanation before turning and walking away. Steffi's hands tremble violently as she tears the envelope open, her breath catching in her throat as she pulls out the crisp, legal documents. They are divorce papers. Steffi's eyes widen in sheer, unadulterated horror as she reads the bold, undeniable print. Finn has filed for an immediate, catastrophic divorce. Attached to the front of the devastating legal documents is a handwritten note from Finn, the ink practically dripping with his delusional, self-righteous anger. He writes that he absolutely refuses to spend another second of his life married to a woman who possesses zero compassion in her heart. He claims he can no longer look at her, no longer touch her, no longer share a life with someone so inherently selfish and cruel. The absolute finality of his words crashes over Steffi like a tidal wave of shattered glass. The Shin marriage has officially exploded into a million irreparable pieces. Cut back to the secluded, dimly lit private apartment across town. Finn quietly leaves the bedroom to fetch a glass of water, gently closing the door behind him so as not to disturb his fragile, ailing mother. The second the door clicks shut, the entire atmosphere in the room shifts. Sheila's eyes flutter open, bright, alert, and completely devoid of any medical distress. The mask of the weak, dying victim instantly melts away, replaced by a chilling, sinister expression of absolute victory. A slow, wicked, deeply triumphant smirk spreads across her face. She has done it. She has executed the most brilliant, devastating manipulation of her entire criminal career. She has successfully, permanently separated John Finn Finnegan from Steffi Forrester. Her plan has succeeded perfectly, and she is now the only woman left in her son's life. Thousands of miles away from the explosive, sun-drenched Mediterranean drama, the California coastline offers a stark, moody, and deeply depressing contrast. The sky above Los Angeles is painted in heavy, oppressive shades of gray, perfectly mirroring the catastrophic, suffocating storm currently raging inside Electra Forrester's shattered heart. She sits completely alone on the damp, freezing sand of the LA beach, her knees pulled tightly to her chest, her body shivering against the cold. The biting, relentless ocean wind whips her hair violently across her tear-stained face, but she does not even attempt to brush it away. She is entirely paralyzed by a massive, agonizing wave of toxic regret. The silence of the beach is deafening, broken only by the violent, rhythmic crashing of the waves, a sound that perfectly echoes the breaking of her own fractured soul. Electra is drowning in a sea of her own making. She stares out at the dark, churning water, her mind aggressively replaying the horrific, relationship-ending fight she had with Will Spencer. She hears her own voice echoing in her head, cold, harsh, and utterly unforgiving. She remembers how fiercely she condemned him for keeping those massive corporate business secrets about Hope's defection to Logan. She remembers standing on her high horse, demanding absolute transparency, punishing him for his loyalty to his own family. She remembers the look of pure, desperate devastation in Will's eyes as she coldly walked away, completely severing the tie between them over a simple, unavoidable corporate crossfire. Now, sitting in the agonizing isolation of the beach, a brutal, horrifying epiphany crashes down on Electra. She realizes, with a sickening twist in her gut, just how incredibly selfish and absurdly harsh she had been. She had demanded that Will betray his own father, completely ignoring the brutal, toxic reality of Bill Spencer's psychological grip on his son. She had failed to understand the immense, suffocating pressure Will was under, trapped in an impossible, unwinnable war between the Forresters and the Spencers. She had expected Will to fall on his sword for her, and when he didn't, she punished him with a cruelty she didn't know she possessed. She realizes that her immense, towering pride had blinded her to the man she truly loved. The guilt washing over Electra is absolutely paralyzing, a physical weight crushing her chest, making it impossible to breathe. The horror of her actions is magnified 1,000 times over by the terrifying news she has just received. She knows exactly what is happening to Will right now, and the reality is tearing her apart from the inside out. Will is not moving on. He is not healing. He is actively, violently spiraling into a dark, terrifying abyss of psychological instability. The reports of his explosive, feral behavior have reached her ears, the physical altercation where he pushed Eric Forrester, the brutal, bloody brawl with RJ at the bikini bar. Will is completely losing his grip on reality, transforming into a volatile, desperate shell of the man she loves. Electra knows that Will is currently sitting in the dark, suffocating isolation of the beach house, desperately drowning his immense sorrows in a bottle of alcohol. She pictures him staring at the bottom of a glass, his knuckles bruised, his heart entirely shattered, drinking himself into a state of total, numbing oblivion just to escape the agonizing pain of losing her. She knows that he is slipping away, falling deeper and deeper into a dark, destructive depression, and she knows with absolute, horrifying certainty that she is the one who pushed him over the edge. She is the one who handed him the shovel to dig his own grave, all because she couldn't swallow her massive, hypocritical pride. Hot, scalding tears stream down Electra's freezing cheeks, dripping onto her jacket as she violently sobs into the wind. She is utterly consumed by the desperate, burning urge to rewind time, to erase the bitter, toxic poison she spat at him. She wishes with every fiber of her being that she could go back to that moment, to look into his desperate eyes, and instead of walking away, she wishes she had thrown her arms around his neck and held him tight. She wishes she had chosen love over business, compassion over pride, Will over the endless, exhausting Forrester family drama. But the cold, harsh reality of the California beach offers no time machines, no second chances, only the brutal, agonizing sting of total consequence. The most terrifying, paralyzing fear of all grips Electra's heart like an icy vice. She knows that Will is incredibly vulnerable, completely broken, and desperately seeking an anchor in the storm she created. And she knows exactly who is waiting in the wings to play the savior. Melissa Dillon. The thought of Dillon slithering into Will's house, offering him comfort, whispering sweet, manipulative lies into his ear, makes Electra physically sick to her stomach. She realizes that her immense pride may have cost her the love of her life forever. She fears that it is already too late to save him, too late to salvage the beautiful love they shared, and too late to stop Dillon from claiming the shattered, bleeding pieces of Will Spencer's heart.